Welcome to the Branded Impact Podcast. On this show, we go beyond surface level branding, honest conversations with industry leaders, behind the scenes of aligned brand building, and actionable insights to help you elevate your presence. I'm your host, Jocelyn Espejo, aka Joe. Hit subscribe and join me each week for the Branded Impact Podcast. Today, we're talking about what actually happens when you try to be everything to everyone. Why niching down feels so hard to do on your own, and how bringing in the right support can completely shift your clarity, your messaging, and your results. Today, I am so excited to be joined by Lauren Moreno. She is the founder of 64 Agency, and we're going to talk about the benefits of niching down and what that can actually do for your business, along with all of the normal branding, tried and true, what's worked, what hasn't, what we wish we would have done sooner. So, Lauren, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
I would love for you to start out with telling us a little about you and why you founded 64 Agency.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Founded 64 Agency about 10 years ago. And I've always had the entrepreneur bug. And after working for a small jewelry brand for 10 years there with them, I really got the feeling that I needed to start something on my own and wanted to help other small businesses on their marketing journey and help them figure out how to market to their customers.
Beautiful. So and I think you mentioned before we got on the show, it's like I'm spending all this time and effort for this small business. I could probably do this for myself. And then
Yeah, yeah. I
it's
mean,
great.
working for a small business, really you feel the wins and you feel the pain of the small business. And I was like, I feel like I could do this. I want the wins to be my wins. So I took the leap.
It's amazing. So, what are some of the things that you guys specialize in?
We work with primarily e-commerce brands, but also retail brands, and we help them grow their e-commerce revenue, increase profitability, and really grow more sustainably through organic marketing.
That's such a key buzzword right now. It's like growing sustainably. So, what are some of the things as you take on a new client? What are some of the key, I would say, I guess errors is the right word, or mistakes that you find most people are making?
They are over reliant on ads. So they're running ads to run their business. So if the ads stop, their whole revenue stream stops. That's what we find most often. We also find that they are talking to too many people at once. So they don't know who their customer is and they're not focused enough on appealing to the right person.
That is something I hear often. I actually just got off a call before ours and I asked the question, I'm like, okay, who's your target market? And they said anyone 18 to 70. And I'm like, okay, that's a very broad reach. And yes, we can serve them all, but I'm like, let's nail down who we're speaking to. So, how do you help people identify the niche? Are there a couple questions that you like to ask to try to nail that down? And then, really, what have you seen the benefit of? I know from the marketing and the messaging, but when someone's been listening and they're like, okay, I keep hearing this, I have to niche down, I have to niche down. But really, why?
Yeah, we start by focusing on the problem that they're solving. And a lot of times we have to dig in and really uncover what that problem is, especially in retail and e-commerce. It's not always crystal clear what the problem is. Like for my business, I know what problem I'm solving for my clients, but with e-commerce, it's not as easy a question to answer. So we'll dig in and really try to uncover, well, is it for the mom who has gone through body changes and now she's trying to figure out how to get dressed again? That's a really tight niche that you can target and speak very clearly to. That uncovering that problem really helps hone in on who exactly it is that you're talking to.
And I think you were mentioning in the notes as far as like before the questions I like to ask to try to get to know the business better. That's where one of your strengths are as an agency is that you can help people identify what the problem is. And I think a lot of times as business owners, we think that we should be able to figure this out on our own. What are your thoughts as far as that goes? Like, there's nothing wrong with the fact that you can't nail this down. This is where sometimes having an outside set of eyes is truly needed. I
Yeah.
know for me, I'm thinking sometimes we're just too close to it. Like we really just, a lot of times it's a heart of service and you get so passionate about what you want to do. And then picking one just feels like you're leaving so much on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to niche down and it's scary. And I think when you try to do it on your own, you never niche down far enough. So you think that you've got it, you think you've nailed your niche down, but you're still speaking too broadly. And what I found for my business is that getting that outside help really did make a difference. And even though we're an agency that helps our clients niche down and helps them uncover who it is that they're talking to and helps them reach their ideal audience. When it came time to do it for myself, I really struggled. And that's one of the things that I wish I had done sooner is gotten that outside help because it became very clear to me in working with an expert what I needed to do and who it was that I was really solving.
I think that's a misnomer. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of people that are successful, and actually, I think almost all of them, if you actually listen to their story and you get into what they did and what their path looked like, they all worked with an expert at some point in their journey. And the ones that seem to have blown up faster are the ones that actually got help very early on to be crystal clear on who are you targeting? Where are
Mhm.
you going after? This is a path. Now, can you pivot? Absolutely. But that's a key piece that a lot of people don't realize. You don't have to figure it out all on your own. And actually, the ones that are successful have help. And even the people that are doing it, I myself, I do branding. I'm a brand agency. I love to help you do that. I still need help with my own branding because I'm
Right.
too close to it. I can look at your business and tell you exactly what I think you need to do, the steps that you need to take, how you can be cohesive and have an organic brand presence. But then when it comes to my own business, I start questioning every decision that I make. And then I have gotten that help and worked with experts myself. So I think that's essential for people to hear, even though I'm an expert, just like you said, I
Mhm.
also had help. And then now I'm very clear in being able to offer that service to other people.
Yes.
So when you decide to niche down, when you're making this recommendation, are they then inevitably only serving that person? Or do you see a ripple effect from niching down? You still get to serve others. You just are very specific in your marketing and your messaging.
That's a great question. I think it's the latter. I think people have different opinions, but I think that you can still serve people outside of your niche when they come to you, and they will come to you because you're going to put your name out there and you're going to be marketing a certain way and you're going to draw people in. What you will most likely do though is draw in more of the right people, more of the people that you're speaking to.
I think probably where you're trying to go with this is that those are the people that had the higher intent to buy the solution that you have to offer because you're
Yes.
speaking to the right person.
Yeah.
So then drawing them in.
Yes. So your marketing will always be focused on your niche and the people that you're hoping to draw in. And those are the people that it's going to be easier to sell to them. It's going to be easier to get them to understand and trust you. But if other people come to you outside of your niche and you think you can help them, there's no reason why you can't work with them.
Well, and I think this is okay. The niching down, it's scary. Trust me, I've done it. And it's, you went, and I know for me, I was walking away from a stream of revenue and to be able to niche down into branding. But the side effect of it was that I got very clear. The conversations became easier to identify. Am I a good fit? Am I not? My
Hmm.
business was able to grow. And then I, if you look at all of my branding, my website, all that stuff, I'm very geared to female founded businesses. That is my niche. That is my specialty. But if you were to look at all of the work that I've done over the year, you'll realize I don't only work with females because word of mouth. I end up getting
Hmm.
referred other people. And so you mentioned something earlier. One of the biggest mistakes that companies make is relying on the ads. The key is actually in the organic,
Yes.
correct? So, like, what is the importance of, and before someone goes to turn on an ad campaign, what would you recommend that they have locked down before they decide to turn on an ad campaign? I guess is the right word.
Yeah, sure. So I always recommend having, first of all, starting before you start anything, understanding your marketing calendar and what you're doing throughout the year, having a plan that is thought through and organized by quarter. And then once you have that, making sure that your website is fully optimized and says what you want it to say to appeal to your audience. And in e-commerce, that it is geared towards conversion. That's not as much the case for service-based businesses, but you still want to be able to make it easy for someone to fill out a form or get in touch with you if you're a service-based business.
I think it actually is. It's just not as easier for the buy right away. But
Right, right,
how many times have you seen a business that has put in the effort? They've got a website, they turn on the landing, but then they're not getting conversions because there's a disconnect.
right.
So, and it's money spent. Running ads is not inexpensive.
No, it's not.
And it's definitely expensive if you're not targeting the right people. And then if you forget to ask for the conversion. I so many times see people running ads and I'm like, there's nowhere to get a hold of you. I don't even have a phone number. There's no next step. Like you're driving me to do what? So the conversion piece is missing from a lot of times when the people are running the ads and they get so quick to want to run ads because they're desperate for leads to come in,
Mhm.
but you're just flushing money down the toilet if you don't have something. And I think we're missing on the fact that organic, and maybe it's because a lot of times when you hear organic, people are saying it's going to take so long for that to build. Like, and
Mhm.
it does take time, but like, it's like you said, the organic should be evergreen. It should be continuous. Your lead flow, the ads should just be able to be turned on when you need a boost. Maybe when it's that time of year, you've got a new special. But if everything is relying on ads, that's a very expensive way to run business.
Yes, and it's rarely profitable.
That's what to say, in my opinion. You're making no money. You're gonna
Yeah.
get to the point where you're like, "Cool, I just burned through all my cash, and now I still don't have leads that are converting." Having leads to have leads is nothing. Like, that doesn't do anything for your business. You need to have leads that are actually gonna turn into paying clients or customers. So those yeah, you have to have both. So
Yeah.
once they've worked with you, you've identified the niche, then the next steps. What are your recommendations? Or we can use your own agency. Like, what do you find is the trickiest part? And especially as things change and evolve, how often are you reevaluating your messaging, your branding? Is it a one and done? Are you looking at it every quarter? What's that frequency look like for you?
Yeah, great question. For us, we look at our messaging about every quarter, a and we're kind of assessing, are we still what keywords are we showing up for? What are we bringing in the right people? Is the messaging that we're using, is it resonating with the leads that are coming in? The questions that leads are asking or the problems they're coming to us for, is that reflected in our messaging? And because I'm so close to it in our brand, I'm able to kind of integrate that a little bit more easily. But I would say it's about every quarter where I kind of step back and look at everything holistically and just make sure that everything still feels like it's super hyper focused on our ideal client.
So, okay, we've been talking a lot about the front end, like how you drive people in and all that stuff. What are your thoughts on once a client becomes a client? How do you carry your branding all the way through that experience so that you can retain them as a client? And then, because I know for me, in the industry, a lot of times, and most of them, I find we focus so much on new. We got to get more new business, more new clients, more new whatever, but we forget to focus on the clients we've already worked with. How do we nurture those clients? How do we extend, maybe increase the lifetime value of that client so that you don't mean so many new?
Right.
But recommendations, what do you guys do to make that follow through?
Right. Because it's so much easier to retain an existing client than sell a new one. And I tell my clients that all the time. And it is something that I'm proud of in our agency. We have very long-term relationships with our clients. Some of our clients have worked with us for 5, 6, 7 years. We have worked really hard on our systems and processes, and that happens from, onboarding. I know exactly when a client says yes and they sign on the dotted line, I know exactly what I'm going to do to get them to the start of their project. We have a checklist, we have a questionnaire, we have a kickoff meeting, something gets put in the mail for them. It's all very organized and it happens the same day that they say yes.
Nice.
And that's something that I've fine tuned over the years because I want that first experience that they have with us to be excellent and to be seamless. And then in an ongoing way, we have regular touch points with our clients. either monthly or biweekly, depending on the account and what it needs. And those meetings are run the same way every time. There's an agenda. The agenda goes out 24 hours ahead of time, and the client knows exactly what to expect. They know what they're going to receive from us in that meeting. It's always, the deliverables, the metrics, whatever it is that we need to give them. But consistency really builds trust, and trust is the basis of our whole brand, really, because without trust you really can't have a long-term relationship, and that's true for any brand, I think.
Oh, very much so. And I think trust, if it isn't one of your core values, it should be. And maybe inevitably it's kind of hidden in there because, like
Yeah.
you said, you don't do business. And it comes down to the foundation of business. You do business with those that you know, like, and trust. And so if you lose that trust somewhere along the way, then you're losing business and then you're losing referrals and the organic piece. So I know I have conversations sometimes and people are like, oh man, my number one source of business is word of mouth. And they're like, gosh, I really need to up. I was like, no, if your number one source of is word of mouth, that's phenomenal. You're doing
Yeah.
something great if that's enough to sustain. Now, if you want to do advertising and up up that to get more exposure, and it's great. But ultimately, every business's goal should be word of mouth because
Yeah.
that's someone that's trusting you enough to refer you to a friend. And I don't know about you, but if I'm going to refer somebody, I better believe that you're going to be able to deliver because I kind of feel like I'm tied to it. If you have a bad experience, I don't like that. I don't want to refer you to someone that's going to treat you bad. I'm going to refer you to someone who I think is going to take care of you. So
Right.
ultimately, I would love to continue to build my word of mouth referral base. That's a huge goal for me. And then the systems. So that you have systems and processes is amazing. And then to have that key knowing when my client says yes and signs on the dotted line, these are the steps. So talk to me about you do a client gift, you determine the touch points, and you have found that's all very essential. Is there anything else that you think if someone's been listening, where would you recommend that they start? Because sometimes this can also feel all very overwhelming. Like, okay, I love the idea of systems and procedures, but maybe it's just me and a very small team. Like, how do I do that and when? And I always say yesterday was when you were supposed to start. But, if you haven't started yet, where would you recommend like start here and then roll into like these next steps?
Yeah, we're a small team, so I feel all of your pains. If you're working with a small team, I understand. I built a lot of, especially for our onboarding process, for example, I built that by myself because I was the one who was handling onboarding. And I think what you need to do for a client when you sign them on. I think you already have a system in your head that you're probably following. You might not have it documented, but you probably do similar things time after time. So I think just starting by saying, okay, I'm going to be strategic about this and I'm going to think about what did I do last time that worked well? What didn't work well? How can I improve it for the next time? And just have an eye for continuous improvement and trying to make your process a little bit better for the next time that you onboard a new client, for example. It doesn't have to be, I think, thinking about like, I need my whole business to have processes is going to make you crazy. But looking at where you have pain points and focusing there and doing one thing at a time is the best way I've found to start.
And I would say my piece to that is, or the piece I can add on is something that you find yourself, like Lauren said, you're already doing it. You just may not realize. So sit down and evaluate what's something that I do every single time a client says yes. What is that next step? And what can I automate to take this off my plate? Because I find a lot of times as founders, we are the bottleneck in our growth. Because if everything relies on you taking action to do something, there's only so much you can scale and there's only so much you can grow because you only have so much capacity. So I love that you are saying one thing at a time. What can you do? And I start with the processes that are you're doing the most often. So
Yeah.
the onboarding. And then this is where I'm going to tie this back into niching. If you're niche down, and you're very specific in who you're working with, this works so much easier. And take it from me, it doesn't work when you have all these different services because then I'm going to onboard and I'm like, okay, well, if I'm onboarding this client, it has to be this way. And if I'm onboarding this service, it has to be this way. And when I've started to kind of narrow down my offers, it made it a lot easier for me to create the systems because I can't tell you, and I've made the mistakes. And sometimes the automations in today's day and age are amazing. Be prepared for the mistakes, like, the hey, gorgeous to the male client. It's fine. It's great. I had a kickoff email send off, and it was, most of my clients are female, and there was a disconnect in the system, and they totally got the hey, gorgeous. And I just followed up with a hey, so excited to work with you. I apologize about my automation kicking off, still working through some tweaks. And then now I have a new system, but it has really pushed me to really start to hone in on what are the services that I want to offer so that I can have systems in place and make the process smoother and ultimately to improve. Because if I have a set system, I have a set service, I can then walk it all the way through and evaluate what worked well, what didn't. If every time it's something new, it's really hard to identify what can you improve because the whole thing was new. So I
Right.
think that ties it back into what we started the conversation with. Niche down, be comfortable, and just know it's okay. And I always relate this back word of mouth, you're still going to help other people. If you're in an e commerce brand or a retail brand, you mentioned the example of targeting the women who are trying to learn how to redress themselves. They're going to have a friend that's in a whole different phase of life that's going to love their outfit and maybe buy from you anyway.
Right.
So it's okay. Just really be specific in who can you benefit the most. And I had this conversation earlier. I said, hey, so think about the services that you want to offer. Not only what are people asking for, because this is the true one too. You got to meet people where they think they want something. And then you can tie it back into what do they really need. But then also make sure that whatever you're promoting is profitable. Because if you start talking about it more and you start doing it more, and it's a service that makes you no money, that doesn't help either. So really knowing the metrics. And I think that's something that you talked about, taking a minute. And I think the quarterly is an excellent example and a great kind of measure because it's not too frequent. Because a month in, you may not have enough data to really collect what's working, what's not. But every quarter, really taking a pulse on what's working in your business, taking that bird's eye view is what I like to call and how I refer to it, kind of taking a step back and looking at the whole process. What's working? Take a look at the numbers. You shouldn't just be looking at your numbers quarterly because then it's probably a little late. I highly recommend looking at numbers monthly, but then starting to see the trend. What is the data saying? What's working? And then really go in on the ones that are profitable that also bring you joy. And then maybe start to stop talking about the ones that either are driving you absolutely bonkers. Cause I don't know about you, but I've had several of those where I thought it was a good idea. I
Yep.
thought the service would be wonderful. I got into it and I was like, I hate this. Why am I doing this to myself? And
Mm-hmm.
then you pivot back, but that quarterly. So any other last minute tips for someone that's been in the business for a while. And this is something else and maybe it's just because my ears are perked up to it. Maybe they are thinking about pivoting. Maybe they've been doing something for so long because that's what they thought they wanted. They're realizing now they've created a monster. They don't love it. They want to pivot. What are your thoughts, your recommendations for starting there? You're kind of in the forefront of how do I make this change?
I think done is better than perfect, and just putting something out there and getting feedback and seeing what people respond to and what their reactions are is a great way to start. Nobody is going to know about something that you keep to yourself and try to perfect, and you'll never make progress on it if you don't share it. So if you're trying to pivot, I think taking a small step in that direction, whatever it is the right way to get started. And I think that you just have to be brave and put something out there and see what people's reactions are so that you can learn and make it better.
Yes. So try it, test it, and then go all in on being very clear on, yes, this is working. Do you even like it? Because that's another
Right.
key. You have to like what you do. You went into business for a reason, and it was not to hate what you do every day. So that is great. So, what does the future look like for 624 Agency? Do you have anything planned coming up? What's your focus for the next 6 months to a year?
No, great question. We are really just focused on serving the people that we serve. And that is, I think, easier said than done. We have been through the journey of niching down and nailing down our messaging. And now we're just hyper targeted to the right people, I think for the first time in a while. And I feel really good about that. And I just want to be able to help them in the best way. So we've been rolling out some new services to support a broader range of e-commerce clients, like different scale clients, because not everybody can hire a full service agency. They're not ready for that yet. So some new projects and scopes of work that are make it able for make it possible for smaller businesses to be able to work with us.
I love it. So still in your lane, just a
Yeah,
different scale and maybe a different offer. So if they can't afford the full service agency, there's still an option to get support until they're ready to grow into that full.
right,
It's like that done with you / done for you, and then eventually become full done for you. I love that.
right. We want to help them get there.
That's great. Well, if they've been listening, Lauren, and they're interested in learning more about 624 Agency, where can they find information about you?
Our website, 624agency.com, or follow us on Instagram at 624.
I love when it's very, very cohesive, very easy. It's 624 Agency. Well, if you've been listening to this episode and you know of somebody that would benefit from liking or listening to it, please share. And as always, subscribe so that you can listen to future episodes where we are featuring amazing founders like Lauren, building something that's sustainable and scalable at the same time. And as always, continue to go out there and make your branded impact. That's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Branded Impact Podcast. If today's episode sparked something in you, please take a second to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who's ready to unlock their rebrand era. And if you're ready for a brand that's rooted in authenticity and built for impact, one that truly reflects your story, your energy, and your evolution, let's connect. Head to brandingbyjoe.com or DM me on Instagram at brandingbyjoe. Thanks for hanging out. Now get out there, show up with purpose, and make your branded impact. I'll see you next week.